There are clearly good movies and clearly bad movies, but sometimes we like to ignore all aspects of being responsible, like having a job, paying rent, sleeping, having a moral compass, to go on a drug-induced homeless scavenger hunt just to find out what is everything in the middle. This is Good Bad, Bad Good.
That's the sign of the Owl's Kiss, right there, on every dollar bill in this country. With every transaction, we enter a pact to live by her law. Any household that eats, lives, or trades under her eyes is subject to her jurisdiction. Our world is filled with codes, pacts, user agreements, subliminal messages.
Go! What the hell, man?
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Good Bad Bad Good. I am your host, Travis Orozco. With me, as always, is
Kylene Amai.
And
your boy Brian.
And I was working on the previous episodes, and I realized the past 3 weeks we haven't said who we are or what we do. We're just hey everyone, how are we doing today?
It's season 2, they should know already.
If you don't know by now, then I don't want you here. Just kidding, stay and listen.
We want you here, please.
Please keep coming back.
Please.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Stay and listen. I'm just kidding.
So for everyone out there to know, today we were supposed to start at 10 a.m., but lovely Kai woke
Who
up
requested
at
the 10
10:30
a.m. start time? Oh, no, actually I did.
It was so...
Well, you guys actually asked for 9, and I said 10 because I was I worked late last night. I knew I was not getting up and being here by 9.
I said, could we do noon?
Oh.
Because Brian has until 3, so I'm all right, 3 hours, 3 hours just in case. It would never go 3 hours, but
No,
so
noon,
also Brian has...
You're also
It is
forgetting
noon
that
his
noon
time.
your time is...
No, noon,
Our time?
That's 2 o'clock
But that
my
would
time.
not have worked.
Okay, so that would be a perfect hour.
Yeah.
That was my thought process. I take it back. And then you said, can we do morning time, please? And then I was like, okay, 9. And you're like, 10.
10. Well, I was supposed to get lunch with someone later. I just fucked up, okay? I just overslept.
We were saying that it's funny that the 2 or 3 times that you've asked for a specific time in the morning,
I can't show up at that time. Well, yeah, it's crazy too because I did think that I set my alarm, which I did. It just says PM, I realized. So when I woke up at 10:11, I was like, why do I feel so well rested and a little groggy? Kind of like I overslept. And then I was like, I think I'm supposed to
and
be
then you
somewhere.
saw Brian's 5 or 7 texts.
Then I jumped out of bed and went into my other room because I do not keep my phone in my room with me because of electric things that'll go into my brain at night and zap me. You guys know.
That's a perfect segue for this movie.
Yeah, that feels on par.
So this week we watched...
I love.
This week we watched the 2018 movie Under the Silver Lake. Before we get into the details of that, let's get a plot synopsis. Hey Google, what is the plot synopsis for the movie Under the Silver Lake?
Here's the synopsis of Under the Silver Lake. Sam is a disenchanted 33-year-old who discovers a mysterious woman, Sarah, frolicking in his apartment's swimming pool. When she vanishes, Sam embarks on a surreal quest across Los Angeles to decode the secret behind her disappearance, leading him into the murkiest depths of mystery, scandal, and conspiracy in the City of Angels.
I have so many...
Yeah,
God, I have so many issues already.
I just like any synopsis that uses the words disenchanted and frolic.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know, this was written and directed by David Robert Mitchell, who is well known for the movie It Follows. That was kind of his it wasn't his debut film, but it was his breakout film.
I didn't realize that wasn't his debut film.
No, he made a movie. Look this up. I think his first film was called The Truth About Sleepovers or something like that. It's produced by a whole lot of people, I think 25 people. Cinematography was by Mike Glolakis. Sorry, Mike.
That's this movie now that you're talking about, not the truth about.
I'm strictly talking about Under the Silver Lake. I know, this can be confusing because this movie was confusing. So let's jump into verdicts. Brian, why don't you go first?
This is a horrible, awful, terrible, bad, good movie.
Kai?
I said it was a good, bad movie.
I said, and I agree, it's a good, bad movie. Funny enough, before just to reinforce the good, bad verdicts that we have, there is a review from Variety by Owen Gleiberman, and he said, Under the Silver Lake gets its hooks in you, but it's a good, bad movie, an academic stab at making the darkness visible. And he gave it a 60 out of 100.
Interesting.
But I was just reading the reviews, and I'm like, oh my gosh, someone actually used our terminology. It's catching on.
Yeah, right.
4 years
they
before.
used our terminology.
They used our terminology
Yeah,
before we even thought about it.
Yeah.
So we will be breaking the movie down into 3 different categories. The first one up is going to be plot synopsis and script, which I think most of our notes will be about this section. That's just my guess. But would anyone like to go first?
Yeah, I absolutely hated the story. I hated the plot. Even if you break down just the plot synopsis, I just honestly didn't care about it. The idea, even if you take down what Google said about a mysterious girl frolicking in the pool. A, she's not really that mysterious. She just lives in the same apartment complex as him. B, she wasn't even in the pool when he saw her. She's sitting listening to music on the side of the pool. And just the whole idea that this guy gets so wrapped up into the idea of this girl disappearing that he's known for what, like an hour? 2 hours, maybe?
She moves out in the middle of the night.
I know, I get
That's
it. And that's
weird.
like kind of weird, but I just don't buy that this guy, and first of all, like I fucking hated his character. He's a pervy loser who doesn't have a
I
job,
was so
refuses to pay
attracted
his
to him.
bills. And like he's literally the first thing you see of him is sitting on the balcony with binoculars. Granted, it's a little weird that his neighbor is watering plants topless outside, but he's just perving on all these women sitting on his
You mean
balcony.
Kai when she's 70?
I was just going to say, the one thing that I love about this movie is how much it is this neighborhood. Like, the vibe of this is the hipster weirdos that, like, live on the east side of town.
Yeah.
And I totally could see that as being maybe me if I continued
Amanda
to live
watched
in
this
in this apartment complex.
Amanda watched this with me, and then like that opening scene where he's looking at the topless woman watering her plants. I'm like, oh my gosh, Kai didn't tell me she was in this movie.
Look, if nobody would like tell our landlord and harass me if I walked outside topless to water my giant balcony of plants that I have, I would do it. But the giant balcony of plants that I have is also like the walkway of the second floor. So it would be very, very public.
Yeah.
So I keep my top on.
Also, like he's obsessed with this girl again that he's known for like maybe 2 hours. But like I don't know, what was the Ricky Lindholm's character? Were they dating? Were they friends? Was she a hooker that he paid for? Because like he's with this other girl hanging out multiple times, but he's then still like I don't know. I hated.
She's
hated
the
it.
she's the booty call. I
took
liked
it
their
as, like,
relationship.
the person that he kept around.
And vice
I
versa.
took it as oh really? I took it as she actually wanted something like
Sex.
more than just sex, because she goes over when he gets like.
Because he calls her and asks her to bring tomato juice, and she's unwilling to stay and listen to his stories. She tells him he stinks and tells him to call her when he doesn't smell anymore. And the first time she comes over because she says, I was in the neighborhood, I had an audition, and then they're immediately fucking. So I took it that these two use each other as booty calls. I think it's just
Maybe.
I don't want us to get I don't want us to harp on like that situation because that was such
pointless.
a small, minuscule
There was no
point of this
to
whole movie.
any of those scenes.
I will agree with you, Brian. There is a lot of this movie that has no point.
The whole movie has no
lot
point.
of it. A lot of it. I'm interested to hear what Kai has to say because if you can't tell, Brian absolutely hated this movie, and
I
he told us this
texted the
in
group
text.
asking if we actually have to finish watching these movies.
Before Travis and I had even started watching
Yeah.
the movie, and I was like, "Oh crap, is it that bad? Like, should we? If it's a bad movie, maybe it's not a good one to do for the podcast." But we stuck it through.
Well, my response was, I've already watched an hour and 45 minutes of this 2 hour and 15-minute movie. I will be very annoyed if I watch this for no reason.
Make sure you're recording. Make sure your
I am.
audio's recorded.
I am
Make
recording.
sure-
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's recording.
In the past, we did a Woman in the Window, and Brian also hated that movie, but I wasn't recording, or like something to do with our audio, so we only had like 20 minutes of the beginning. So we had to toss it. Maybe we'll do it again. Let us know if you want us to watch A Woman in the Window.
Nope.
If the fans demand it, Brian.
And it's funny because I had actually seen that movie 3 times by the
Yeah.
last time that
I'd
we had
only
watched
tried to
that
get through
movie.
it. But we cannot digress on this
Okay,
episode
you want to know
because
what I
there's
think
so
about this
much.
movie?
Yes, go.
I look, if I actually thought this was a good movie, not like a great movie, not like an Oscar-winning movie, but I would have given this. It's a cult movie, is what it is. This is like the type of
Are
movie
you
that
saying,
I want to.
wait, sorry, just to clarify for the listeners, are you
Yes.
saying like a cult, like the film has a following, or
Yes.
it's about
It's-
cults?
well,
Because the
it
film,
is
Both is
also
kind of
about
could be
yeah,
cults.
true.
exactly. But I just wanted
Yeah, no,
to know
sorry.
what you were referring
Good
to.
clarification. No, I'm saying that this feels like a cult classic
Yeah.
movie. Like it'll have a following. I read Roger Ebert. Which one's passed away?
They
It's-
both have, right?
No.
I thought it was Siskel that passed
One of
away.
them. Yeah.
I thought they both passed away.
No, because I just read the review by.
Well, he still has his company, and people reviewed under the like Roger Ebert reviews.
Oh, wait. Have they both really passed away? Is this me being a dum dum?
Yeah, he died in 2013.
All right. Well, there's a great review on his website.
Yeah,
By whomever.
RogerEbert.com is
Yeah.
movies and review. Like Megan is up right now.
Okay.
That just came out.
Got it. Well, whoever reviewed this film, which apparently I should have known that he passed away, but whoever reviewed this film was talking about how they thought it was a cult classic movie. That it's an A24 film, and that A24 had a lot of trouble figuring out how to market this one because
None of it makes any
who-
sense.
Well, or there's going, who is the audience for this? But
It
there
also
is
had
an
terrible
audience
test
for this.
reviews, and they had to do extensive reshoots and like.
Right. Which is
That
why I
tracks.
think it's a cult classic, though, because I am the audience for this movie. And I actually asked.
What is the audience? People who just don't like good stories, or
Let me explain. No, I
Don't like cohesive
I really
stories?
enjoyed this movie. One, because it's a character study of this bum type of guy, but somebody that I found that like has no motivation to do any of the things that he's like supposed to do with his life because he thinks that there's got to be something out there that is missing. I really like that as an impetus to a story.
I didn't get that
Because
from that character.
it's like
the thing is, we don't know. We don't learn anything about him.
Yeah. To me,
That was
But I
my
didn't-
biggest problem with it. Like you say, it's a character study, but we
I
learn
didn't
nothing
need
about
to.
him.
I learn about like
Then
it's-
what are we studying?
I guess it's the dilemma of that human struggle, which is like
Brian's
to
left the room.
become he's left the room. Just to become so obsessed with anything else but your own life because you don't want to live in your own life. Like clearly we know enough about this guy's life. He's getting evicted. He clearly doesn't have a job or anything to do. Every time his mom calls him, he the first time he's like, "Oh yeah, Mom, I'm at work." He's clearly lying because he's sitting on his porch watching the neighbors through his binoculars. So like we get all of these little hints that this guy has nothing going on in his actual life and he needs something. So he thinks that there's something else out there because he's depressed. And so like he's missing something, right? What is the thing that he's missing? Which was the impetus to him getting caught up or obsessed with all of these other things. And I really loved that because I have my own abilities to like just fantasize about shit or go conspiracy theory, not to like the max, but a little bit with stuff. And
But a little bit to the max.
a
Yeah.
little bit to the max. No. So I really enjoyed the play of that. I loved all the actors in it. But specifically their weird sort of strung out characters. And I lived in Echo Park for like 6-7 years, and I hung out with late night seedy crowds quite a lot. And like I just found that this movie, I guess it made me feel like I was back hanging out like after midnight with a bunch of weirdos in Silver Lake. which I know that's why I'm like, maybe I am the audience for this, because I feel like
That's a very niche audience if that's the case.
It's so niche, which is why like a couple of the friends that I thought might like this movie, I asked them if they had seen this and to watch it, because I'm not sure if like I was nerding out about it because I like know every street that it's shot on. Like I don't know if you were doing that with like most of it shot in Atwater Village and in the Roost.
That's one
and,
of
like,
my nitpicks. That none
Oh.
of the geographical
makes any
locations
sense.
make any sense.
They get on the
He's-
freeway from Atwater and all of a sudden they're at John Marshall.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like walking on Los Feliz Boulevard into Atwater/Glendale, and then like he arrives at the writer's house in like clearly
I mean,
like East Hollywood
Right.
or like
That's something
right,
that
somewhere.
that I feel like is in most movies or TV shows. Like I remember, even in like the Rocky movies, because I'm from Philly, so like any movie that takes place in Philly, they're all kind of the same. Like the route, the Rocky montage where he's running and he ends up on the art museum steps. Like the dude, somebody actually mapped it out. He would have run like an insane, like more than a marathon's worth of. Like it was an insane route, or like
He was in
if-
shape.
What's that?
He was in shape. What do you
Well, I mean, he was, but I don't think he was running 30 miles.
Well,
So yeah,
just to go off of what you just said, Rocky was in shape. This guy was just a lunatic. So he liked to walk in circles and in
No,
opposite
you're
directions to then
you're
re-walk
just trying
around
to
and
make.
get
You're just trying to
someplace.
make. No, because he was only walking because his penis mobile got repossessed.
oh yeah, I want to know
penis.
how a guy with no job, clearly with no money, how is he even driving a Mustang?
So wait, I want to respond to Kai. So that kind of goes into Kai's. I loved this guy because he like was relatable, and I really want him to be my boyfriend type.
I did not
monologue
say
that she
any
just
of
did.
that.
You did say
I
swoon
do find
in the
Andrew
text thread, though.
Garfield quite attractive, which is odd. I don't think I really have, but as soon as he became the like dirty hipster boy, I was like, oh god.
As soon as
And
he
I
had
was like,
nothing
what is
going for
wrong
us.
with me?
Yeah,
As soon as he
he
had
was a
nothing
loser,
going
I
with
for
nothing
grew
to
up
do.
in Seattle, Washington, in the era of grunge rock. It was cool to not have anything going for you and wear really dirty clothing.
So, one, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said that he's depressed. Where do we get that he's depressed?
I read
think
that
you're
into
inferring
it. I am inferring.
because
You're 100%
he-
right.
Is a lazy bum and doesn't
But-
do anything.
But also, I would just say, yes, you're correct. I'm inferring because I'm going to try to escape your own life
100%.
as much as he does throughout
Sure.
this movie. You have to not be satisfied with your own life, which
Sure.
I then think of as a form of being depressed.
Sure.
But
The other thing is, we don't learn. I just can't get over how little we know about him other than his
But any of
current
them.
predicament. But mainly him, because it's
Yeah.
a character study that we're following
Sure.
for like 2 hours and 14
you
minutes.
know what? Actually,
Ed, wait, hang on. Ed, we went rounds on the black phone because you're like, why does he wear a mask? Why does he do this? Why? There's all these whys that you wanted to know about a serial killer that is just like there to like scare you. But like we have this deep 2-hour meditation on like being a loser. And you're like, I know so
well,
much
it's
about
a lot
him.
easier to be a loser, I would say, than a serial killer.
Have
To
you
go on
tried
a
it?
wild goose chase. Well, to go on a wild goose chase is very different than to decide to rent a van and keep kids in your basement. I think these are wildly different things.
But
Tomato,
my point is,
tomato.
but no. But the black phone wasn't a character
this
study.
This guy got evicted. He's about to be a serial killer next. Like, what are we saying?
I mean, he did kill people in this movie.
Who does he
He smashed the songwriter's face in.
He literally
He-
bashes his brains in
he
with Kurt
bashes
Cobain's
his
old
brain-
guitar.
He
That
kills
was-
the
Oh, yeah.
guy.
Don't even get. I
Oh,
hated that
well,
scene. Oh my god.
Of course.
And like he's
You're right. You're
he
right. He
bashes
does
his
smash the
brain in.
guy's face
First of
in.
all, the movie jumps to like a campy horror gory thing for like 5 seconds of that scene. But then supposedly he's a regular dude who doesn't even seem, it's like he leaves the house and forgets that he has this dude's blood and brains all over his body.
But takes his gun.
Yeah, but takes his gun. Just yeah. Oh god, I fucking hated this guy.
Yeah, and I think that for me, I'm in the middle of you two. You liked it. Brian hated it. I think there is a lot going for this film that works, and there's a whole lot that doesn't. That just ends up, it just.
I just didn't think any of it, like it just all felt like it was aimless. Like the way the characters sort of aimlessly wandering around a lot of the time, the movie felt like it was aimlessly wandering around. Like it didn't feel like a fully fleshed out, coherent storyline and plot. It felt like a bunch of random sections thrown together.
I agree with that, and it led to a lot of tonal shifts that I just could not like.
Yeah, like I was saying,
uh,
when he murders the dude, smashes his face in, was like 3 minutes of completely different than the other 2 hours and 12 minutes or whatever it was.
Which I will say, a lot of the quote unquote horror scenes that are in this film are really good. I'm like, yeah, this is the guy who made It Follows. Like when he's walking through Ferndale, which I don't know why you would walk through Ferndale in order to get to
his
your
apartment. I know
in Silver
that
Lake.
part I kept being like, what?
Stupid. And that like shadowy man figure is following him, which we never find out who or what that is.
forgot.
Or
about
the
that.
cat. What? No, she's not a cat. The owl face naked lady. We don't know who she is either.
Yeah,
Yeah, the creepy woman
Well,
walking
which,
through.
like,
Yeah, what the hell?
Which is my problem. There is a compelling story here, but you throw in 35 different like red herrings and misdirects that are also compelling in and of itself, but we never actually find out anything about it.
Yeah.
So I actually think that is a great comment on this film. But I will say I was entertained. I was captivated and just willing to surrender and go on this guy's like wild goose chase to the point that a lot of these things felt like I was in the world of this guy who's kind of going nuts. You know, I mean, he's scribbling on a pizza box codes from a Nintendo Power magazine. Like you've lost your shit. He kills someone. He's lost his shit. So I felt like a lot of this was just like part of it was like what is actually going on? What is he dreaming? What is he just seeing? Because he's been reading all these things. He's been reading Under the Silver Lake. He went to that guy's house. So what's actually happening versus like the whole thing with the dogs and the dog killer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the other thing. He's the most unreliable narrator possible, right? And like there are plenty of films that have unreliable narrators, but I just think so much like it's so bananas. Like there's so many different things and storylines and threads that are in this film that you don't know or care about any of them.
yeah.
I cared.
I didn't. Honestly, the problem for me was pretty much within the first 10 minutes of this movie. I had already decided that I did not like and I did not care about Andrew Garfield's character. So I didn't care about anything else that he did or that happened to him. And so it kind of just started me out on the wrong foot from the beginning.
So for me, and for context, Brian had texted us saying that he wanted to turn it off after 30 minutes, which I will disagree. I think the mystery of the film, especially in the first 30 minutes, because she does move out in the middle of the night, like it's just starting to get going at that point. I was entertained for it, like you said, Kai, up until like maybe an hour 40. It starts to get a little long in the tooth, and like
Yeah.
especially the songwriter scene. I think that's a really good scene. And I thought that's what they were trying to say with the film, of like everyone is just a cog in the wheel. Everyone is just a puppet. Everyone is just, you think they're like all these songs were written by all these different people, but I'm just one person writing all of them. But then it goes back to the cult. Like it was just.
Well, I think it was saying several things, and I think what you just mentioned was a piece of it. But so I feel like we're watching this sort of egotistical. I mean, he's got a big ego, this our main character, Andrew Garfield. And I feel like we're watching him sort of go on this goose chase, not only to find out like what happens or what he's missing, who, people who have money, they know something other than what he knows. But he's also going on this chase to like avenge the girl or save the girl. And he has this we're watching from the beginning, him watching the girl in the pool, watching the neighbor, looking at his magazines. He has this like obsession with women. And so there's also this softer spot of like, oh, he just wants to get and save the girl, which is kind of going on, which is interesting. And then
But save the girl from what?
He doesn't know.
Was my problem. That's the thing. So like he's on this.
Okay, let me finish my thought.
Yeah, sorry. Go.
So then there's this sort of thing in the plot, which is like, are we following a love story? But he doesn't really love this girl because he doesn't even know her, right? So it's all, again, a fantasy in his head. He's building this thing of like what he's going to do, which I liked that. That felt like the B story to the like cult, which was all sort of like he's creating fantasies to escape his own life. The one thing that is said later, when he finally finds the girl, Sarah, is that her name?
Who knows?
Yeah, and they have the conversation where she's sitting in the bedroom underneath the earth in the cave, which I just thought was a really cool shot.
What was a really cool shot?
Her sitting in this bedroom and like you see the windows in the back and like
There's, like,
outside of
cave.
the windows there's
It's
just
cave.
like cement rock. Yeah, it just cracked me up. But when they're having that conversation and then she asks about him getting another dog, and she says, because it seems like you could really use some unconditional love. And the whole thing with like dogs being killed throughout this movie, this movie felt like some sort of exploration of like ego and doing things because you feel like you have to do them or you're supposed to be X, Y, and Z versus like this other pure world, which is like unconditional love that brings us back to humanity. I got this sort of battle of good and bad, or right and wrong, or unconditional and
Who was
ego
the
fantasy.
good in this film? Because he's not a good person.
Right. No, I'm saying he's searching. I'm saying the world that we're in.
It feels like a stretch to me. This
Someone
entire
out
movie.
there, if what I'm saying makes sense, please message
I
me so
understand
don't
the
feel
idea
so
of what you're
alone.
saying, but I didn't see that in this movie at all. I mean, for me, it felt like something that was trying to be a lot more deep and philosophical. Like it was trying too hard to be deep and philosophical. And there's so many questions. Like we've already brought up a few of them, but even just the fact, other than needing the plot device of getting Andrew Garfield's character interested in what happened to this girl, why the fuck did she need to move out in the middle of the night? It's never explained. How does she get involved?
she's
never
going
explained that.
because she has to be killed.
Yeah, but
so-
they don't explain
so-
why she has to move out.
Yeah, they
in
don't
the
have to
middle
move
of
all
the
your
night.
stuff out. She could just disappear.
You could fake your death and still have your
Yeah, I
apartment
Still have
all
your
fine.
that's
bedroom,
true.
If,
you know.
That's
if
true.
anything, moving out in the middle of the night draws attention to your death.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Which that was actually a really fucked up part about all of it was going there. They found 3 bodies, and they found the guy's body, the 7. What was his name?
Sevens
Severance
or
like
something.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Severance without the R or something.
Yeah,
that.
something
It's
like that.
So they found his body, or they found remains
Yeah.
of his teeth and his hair, which they must have plucked from him to put. So, but somebody died, right? 4 people died, 3 girls
Sure.
and a
Yeah.
dude. So they're killing people to be able to
Yeah.
go down into these
They're
underground.
they're killing them, or he's a billionaire. He's getting a cadaver body from somewhere and like
or
just
that.
placing their own DNA in it. And,
You could be that. Correct.
billionaires could do whatever they want.
Right. They're grave digging
Yeah.
is what they're
Sure.
doing.
I mean,
Yeah,
like
there you go.
like literally any of those things happen.
Right.
My biggest thing is that like he's in this empty apartment and then he gets out because the woman comes, and then he's outside and then he just watches the woman leave, and I'm like, you could literally just ask her,
Yeah.
"Where's Sarah? What
Wait.
happened?" So after
What
they move
part?
out, he's like looking to, and he talks to the property manager.
Yeah. He follows her.
Yeah, I know, but you could just be
You
a
could have just
human.
asked.
He's not.
I know,
Sorry,
which is
human.
what's so infuriating about this whole thing is that we're following a character that you don't actually care for or like.
Right.
Yeah.
Or there's so many moments where you're going, why don't you just
Yeah.
XYZ?
And
Yes.
you could say no, obviously. But if this was under the Tenderloin and it took place in the Tenderloin neighborhood of San Francisco, would you feel the same? Like it was it's
was
very cool. It's very cool, I will say, because for those of you who don't know, Kai and I live in Los Feliz, and like this movie does not take place in
what
just
used
Silver
to
Lake.
be the Edendale.
What?
Used to be the Edendale.
Yeah,
This whole area.
sure. But this movie doesn't take place in just Silver Lake. It's like all over LA.
All over East LA.
It's all over the eastern side of LA. I hate that people call Silver
you're right.
Lake.
You're
and
right. You're right. You're right. I know.
The first time I heard someone say, "Oh yeah, I live in East LA, like
I
Silver
should say
Lake."
East Hollywood. That's
That's
what
really
it is.
what it-
Yeah. I
what
used
it
to
is.
say East Hollywood, and then people just started saying the East Side, and I was like, oh yeah. I
So
guess.
the east side makes a little bit more sense. But like when someone
yeah, not
the first
East
time I
LA.
heard that was like, "Oh, I live in East LA, like Silver Lake." And I'm like, "East of what? It's not even east of downtown. What the hell are you talking about?" Don't erase all of the culture and
Yeah.
Latinos that are actually in East LA.
Right.
Ugh. Anyways,
Well, it's also like now East Hollywood is the most gentrified area
Yeah.
of like.
yeah, with all
Yeah.
these trust fund babies moved in. I forgot what I was saying. But my question was if this was under the Tenderloin or like under the what's a neighborhood in Austin?
Terrytown.
If it's under the Terrytown, would you feel the same connection?
That was what I was saying earlier. Was that the people that I specifically asked that have similar taste to me in movies were people that lived in Seattle and somebody that lives in New York because that don't know this neighborhood at all. And I was like, none of them had seen it. So I was like, watch this movie. Let me know what you think. Because I wondered if I had a little pull to my heartstrings because I was just having fun watching
Yeah.
this neighborhood. But actually, as soon as you said Under the Tenderloin, I was like, ooh, I want to watch that movie. But that's because I've had some very seedy, bizarre experiences in the Tenderloin. So
Okay,
I
sure.
also know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
district. As soon as you said Terrytown, I was like, meh. But no, that's actually not true. I think there was something about watching somebody's chase to find more meaning because their life sucked that I was very intrigued by. And I was really entertained all the way until this movie. Like the whole movie, I was very entertained by. I do totally understand why both of you were like, but it doesn't make sense, or why wouldn't he just blank, or why does this happen, or like there's so many things in this movie that are unnecessary. I will say yes to that, but I was still very entertained by it, and I would definitely watch this again
That's
But
fair.
and again.
But the thing is, there are plenty of movies that like could take you on a ride and not make sense, but still be very compelling.
So
2001 Space Odyssey doesn't make sense the whole second half, but it's still very compelling.
Dude, where in my
So
car
this
doesn't
is
make
my
sense. It's still
Mulholland
very
Drive.
compelling.
Yeah, this is my Mulholland Drive because I'm not a fan of that movie. I know. Shake
I
your
wish-
head, roll your eyes.
It's a good thing
whatever.
it's on video so y'all can see the look on Travis's face right now.
I know.
I was gonna bring that up of like this is just it's a cheap knockoff of Mulholland Drive.
Which
They even
Mulholland
casted the
Drive
same
became too like I wasn't as
Mulholland Drive is one of the best films ever made.
why? Because you've heard that by a million people over and over again, and you're a film snob that turns his head up like this and everything.
No. It's so
Just giving you
the
shit.
story of like seeking and searching for it's like that's what I'm saying. It's literally the same thing, but it's more compelling.
Well, so I was compelled by this and a little bit turned off by Mulholland Drive, but I to be fair, I've only seen Mulholland Drive twice, and I haven't seen it in several years. And I think the last several years of my life, I have gotten more into watching films and actually
good.
picking apart films. So to be fair, I need to watch Mulholland Drive again. But I will say the first couple times I watched Mulholland Drive, I was kind of like, I don't get why everyone's so entertained by it.
But that's David Lynch in general, right? Like David Lynch as a filmmaker is
Yes.
making films that don't make sense, like that are confusing,
I'm
are
not
experimental,
a
are
big
Lynch fan.
Lynch fan. I do love some of the
This is-
stylistic things of Lynch.
Yeah.
But I don't like it as far as he pushes. And sometimes I'm like, but like, so yes, this is Lynchian.
This is wannabe Lynch, but with a
But
guy
done
that
in a
you
way
think
that
is
I
attractive
enjoy.
and in an area that you care about.
Maybe you can, except for Mulholland Drive is in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
it's about an actress.
But
like those,
yeah,
I
yeah,
would
sure,
totally.
sure.
And I love Naomi Watts.
Yeah. The scene in Mulholland Drive when her grandparents are laughing at her is like brings me to tears and is so much more effective than this entire movie.
You know what it is, and again, I have not seen Mulholland Drive in a couple of years. But from what I remember, the acting of Mulholland Drive is very Lynchian, which nobody feels very grounded. Everyone's very there's this like
Because the people in Under the Silver Lake felt grounded.
I was just about to say everyone in
no,
this.
that's why I said like I felt like I know these people. Like I've hung out and done drugs with
Everyone
with
was just
these
being a
people.
caricature of what everyone thinks that neighborhood is like, though.
I feel like these actual actors live in this neighborhood and hang
They
out in this
don't. They
neighborhood,
live in the
and I
Hollywood
have
Hills.
been to. Well, maybe you're probably right. I feel though like I have definitely partied with the people that are. So again, you're right. It's because I have a little place in my but no, it felt definitely more grounded than Mulholland Drive in the sense that like it's shot in like I feel like Lynchian. It becomes this whole fucking world, whereas this movie kept us in our world with these other strange things that were happening. Does that make sense?
So you're saying Lynchian films take you to different worlds within like the same movie?
I don't know what I'm saying. Your coffee's cracking me out.
Yet this to me felt
Let's move
different
on.
worlds in the same movie. Like this, none of this felt coherent or grounded to me at all. But again, I also wanted to turn this off after like 30 minutes. And then after about an hour and 45 minutes, I wanted to just jump out of the window on the second floor.
And then at 2 minutes, what did you want to do? I mean, 2 hours. What did you want to do?
Go to sleep.
And then at 2:15, did you kill yourself?
Then I wanted to, no, I just wanted to like gouge my eyes out so I can never watch this again.
So in the end, Sarah, the woman that he's chasing, ends up being a part of this cult for rich people that thinks that if they wait underground for 6 months, they will ascend to a different plane of living, right?
I mean, I think so.
Yes.
I was not really paying that much attention to that whole scene in the yurt or whatever they were in. So I'm going to just assume you're right.
Thoughts on how it ends?
Well, two things. The first is another thing that didn't make any sense. All of the different symbols that they were showing, like those two sort of sideways squares and the three lines.
Yeah, the homeless.
What was the
homeless
point of all of that?
So those are symbols that the homeless community uses in order to communicate with other homeless people.
Right, but like, why did they need to draw those squares on the inside of Sarah's bedroom after she moves out?
Oh I don't know, and it never explains,
Yeah,
right, Kai?
and then my second
Yeah.
thing, which I think we sort of touched on already, but when he's on the phone with Sarah when she's hidden away or whatever, and he's like, "I was worried about you," and she's like, "Why? You don't even really know me." And in my head, I'm thinking, "Yeah, motherfucker, you don't even know her. You got high with her and spent like 2 hours hanging out with her." At the end of the
Because
day,
they
I
played
think he just wanted to bone
footsies
her.
when they were cuddling. And if you
And
play footsies with something, that means your relationship
With
is
something?
deep. Is that what I said? Me and the left arm of my couch are like this.
As the other guy on the podcast, I agree with you, Brian, in that like halfway through the film, I'm like, why is he still? He
just
literally
wants to
he's just
bang
trying to
her.
get boned.
Yeah.
like he's just trying to bang her.
But like he
He's
was
trying to get boned.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be chasing a man then.
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he was. I don't know. We don't know.
We don't know what he
Was
was
she
doing.
a woman after all?
Was she real? Is he just actually high in his own bedroom?
I did love that. See, this could not have been set in the Tenderloin or in Tarrytown, because I totally believe that there would be billionaires in LA doing something like this, and that there would be young, dumb girls who came to Hollywood looking for something that would follow
This could
them.
be set in any major city. Because a billionaire
But
could literally go to any city that they want.
especially feels Hollywood to me. Of like
This could be in New York. This could be bedside. This could be Williamsburg, New York. The like center of
actually.
hipsters in
Anywhere there's
New York.
yeah, for sure in Williamsburg. I think anywhere there's rich people, there will be psychos trying to bury themselves for 6 months.
Moral of the story: rich
Yeah, I
people are
think
crazy.
that sums up plot right there.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, let's move on to acting. Any thoughts on acting? I have one note on acting, and I put everyone is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I thought that they were fine. I should say I am not particularly a big Andrew Garfield fan. I never really have been. I don't quite understand the hype about him. I don't think he's a bad actor, but I don't think he's as great as I feel like he's sometimes made out to be. So that's also maybe part of why I didn't like his character, is because going in, I'm just not that big a fan of Andrew Garfield. But yeah, there wasn't anybody that I watched in this movie where I was like, oh yeah, this person's really good in this movie. I was just kind of like, yeah, they're all fine.
I don't think of Andrew Garfield as somebody that like if you asked me who my favorite actors were or who I'm inspired by, he never crosses my mind as somebody on the list. But every time I watch him in a movie, I'm like, wow, this guy's real talented. And I felt that way about this movie as well. I really enjoyed all of the acting in this. I felt like, unlike Amsterdam, which we did, I at least felt like even if you didn't know what the fuck was going on in this movie or what it was about, they were all in the same movie. Yeah. I also loved the guy that played the songwriter. I thought he was excellent. And have you ever been to the Paramore estate?
No.
I loved that they shot there. That's that place. The end of, or no, not the end, but the Neon Demon, the place where what's her name lives, and the whole pool is the Paramore estate. Mm-hmm. I've been to a wedding or two there. It's a very cool place. I loved him. I kind of liked everybody.
It kind of bothered me how
Grace.
fake
It was
his
nice
makeup
to see.
was, though. Sorry, just the songwriter had like definitely clearly fake prosthetics to make him look super old.
Oh, yeah,
and that kind of
yeah,
threw me
yeah.
off from everything else with
Yeah.
that guy.
Sorry, Kai, you were saying.
No, I was gonna say I really liked Topher Grace in this too. I heard his voice because those shots are kind of strange. Like the first couple shots of Topher Grace is
He's in
like
the bar.
a very super wide, and
You,
then
don't see
from the
him,
back.
right? The first
so
couple
you don't
shots,
really
yeah.
see him the first couple shots, and I was like, I know this voice. Like I know this voice so well. What?
What's the first shot that you?
Aren't they
the
at
first
the
shot that
bar?
I remember.
Walking out.
The first
no,
one
no.
that I remember him in is the bar.
No.
And
Yeah.
it's like a medium shot of them sitting at the bar.
He
And he's
doesn't
talking
go to
about
the bar
girl.
with Topher
Yeah,
Grace.
he's sitting at a
What?
bar.
Yeah,
but I don't think
he's
you really
literally
see him.
He's
though.
literally billed as bar buddy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I don't remember seeing.
That's his character name.
I don't remember seeing his face until they're again creepily flying a drone to some. Okay.
Yeah, that's the
This is
first
another-
part.
this is
I
another plot
remember
issue, I
seeing
think.
him. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I was just gonna say his whole character was unnecessary, Topher Grace. But then,
Yeah.
why do you need that scene where they're sitting flying a drone, spying on this woman, and then who walks
Because they
into their
needed
house?
more titties in this movie.
But she didn't even take her bra off, so it's not like you really saw her titties. But also, who walks into their house or apartment, sits down on the couch, unbuttons their blouse, and then just starts crying like that. It just felt so it was so gratuitous and
Me
unnecessary.
Someone
every day
trying
of
to be
my
an actress.
damn life. Yeah.
Someone who just got
I
back from a
did-
bad audition.
I did like that his fuck buddy kept coming in different outfits because she's like, I was just at an audition. She's like, first the German Lederhosen girl, and then she comes in the nurse outfit, which you're like, did she put this on to bring him the tomato soup?
That's what I was thinking.
Or yeah.
I think that the drone scene was included to further make you dislike the main character that you're supposed to be following.
I
for
was
2
already
hours
well
and
into
52
the
minutes.
way.
I think that too.
Also, if Topher Grace, his character, if he could control a drone like that and dolly in on
Yeah.
someone crying like that,
He should be
he
working
could
in
be
movies.
making so much money
Yeah,
right.
Well,
in movies.
The other thing that was weird about that scene was that, so clearly, Andrew Garfield's character is fine being a perv because the first thing you see him with is binoculars. But I felt like during that scene, he was almost acting as if he was uncomfortable with Topher Grace flying the camera like that. And I'm like, but why? This seems like it'd be right up your alley.
Well, sure, except for the fact that the woman across on the porch with her boobs out is clearly like, she does that every morning.
Yeah.
She's unafraid of the fact that
Right.
anybody's looking. Whereas this lady
unknown.
has, no knowledge.
Well,
Unless
also-
she happened to look out the window and see the blinking lights staring at
Yeah.
her.
Wait, can we talk about the fact that he sleeps with Bird Lady later?
Oh, yeah.
At
that
the,
was-
towards the end, I was like, oh, we're going into the mommy thing.
Yeah.
He like has several conversations with his mom throughout the movie. We never see her, and then by the end, for the comfort and the unconditional love, he sleeps with older Bird Lady, which I actually really appreciated that happened. I thought Jimmy Simpson was good in this too. I felt like he was a fun character.
I
That's
forgot
the
he
friend,
was in
right?
this.
That's wearing
He's
the
the
blouse.
friend. Yeah, he's the same actor that was the first time I saw him, and I think he's done several things now. But the first time I saw him was in Westworld.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I-
he was
I liked
also
him in this.
like a bit recurring character in It's Always Sunny. I mean, he's been in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, the last category we'll be talking about is technical. This includes everything from cinematography to editing to score to production design, art directing, all those things. Brian, go first. Kick it off. This is your episode, Brian. You just
You take it away.
yeah.
The biggest thing I'll say about technical is I hated the score. Not the score on its own. Like if you take it out of context, like the music itself is fine. It felt like they were trying to make this a noir film, and the vibe of the movie was not like that at all, to me at least. So it felt very disconnected, the music to the movie, and it felt like it was like trying to over dramatize, right? Yeah, things that weren't, to me, that didn't feel that dramatic.
I really liked the noir score because it's essentially a noir film with like weird psychological Lynchian stuff.
I
thrown in.
also really liked the score.
So I'm in the middle again. I really like the noir score and like for the most of it, but there are some scenes, and maybe this was intentional, maybe it wasn't, because it's also intentional in the script. There are some scenes where the score is completely different, like drastically different, and I don't think it meshes with the entirety of the score as like for the film. I will say the score when he's talking to Sarah is really good, but it's not noir themed. It's like a simple piano melody that's like underlined that really gives weight to the scene. I was gonna say, Brian, did you not like the noir? Gosh, I am
Noir.
having noir.
No,
Noir.
No, noir.
If you say that so many times, it just feels. Did you have trouble with the score for that because it was set in modern day and you feel like it needs to be in the 1950s when noir was really big?
Not necessarily. It was just when I was watching it, the film didn't feel like a noir film to me, but the music did. So to me, it just felt disconnected in that way.
Oh, interesting.
I think Brian
I
just didn't
felt
get
like-
this movie.
I'm sorry?
See, I
I
think
mean, I
Brian
definitely,
just
that's
didn't get
100% accurate.
See, because I took it as a noir film.
I did too.
It was like a
and I
neo-noir
really
film.
enjoyed
Yeah.
the score, and I looked up the soundtrack afterwards because it's got a lot of great songs in it. And I listened to the
I did love
soundtrack
the
yesterday.
REM, and
great.
there was a song, I can't remember what it's called, the song, right? Oh, hold on, I added it to my Apple Music. Brimful of Asha. I do love that song from the 90s, and REM. So I did love that, but otherwise I was,
I really liked the production design, set dressing of all of this. I loved his apartment.
Agreed.
I loved every like bizarre club or like when they go to the crypt club. I loved that. I really enjoyed the sort of artistic design of this whole movie.
I agree, and it felt intentional. It felt like they had a like a plan behind it. I love that Sarah's room was pink randomly, and like it felt like that was on purpose. I will say all of the Hitchcock posters in his apartment made me think that he was a writer, but I don't want to throw. I don't want to lump all writers into this like bashing of he was a loser, pervy dude. But I just got that vibe of like, oh, I moved to LA to be a screenwriter type thing, and like all I want to do is write, and that's why I want to not care about anything else in my world. I had trouble with editing. I felt as though the scenes lacked cohesion in terms of the editing style. And again, with a film like this that is intentionally trying to be misleading and confusing, it's hard to tell if it's intentional or not. But it didn't work for me. Like there's so many like little vignette scenes that I think aren't needed. Like I think this could have been a solid hour 50. There's the scene when he goes over to Topher Grace's house and Topher Grace is sitting on the porch and he's walking up the hill to his...
That's when I first thought we saw Topher Grace. So that's why I was saying it
like
was
the character
odd.
in general?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But maybe I was incorrect about that. But that's why I was like, I know, because there's voiceover of Topher Grace. And I was like, I know this person, but I can't see their face.
There's voiceover of Topher Grace?
Well, no, they're both talking. Sorry, it's not actual voiceover.
Okay,
but
got
you can't, it's such a wide shot, you can't actually see him. And then the next shot, we're from behind him. So you also can't tell who he is. But continue.
But he walks up to him and then Topher, they're like, hey. And then they say hi. And they're like, wow, you walked here? He's like, yeah. Where's your car? In the shop. And then it just fades. And I'm like, that was not needed at all. But they had several of those vignette scenes that are so drastically different than all the other ones
I wonder
that
if
don't
that
do
was,
much.
I wonder if that was like he's lying again. He's
Sure,
like,
but we've already established that he's
right,
a
right,
dirtbag.
right.
Like, we don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Brian had said, like, we could cut out Topher Grace's
Yeah, I don't think
part
they're
completely
needed at all.
and
Also,
I mean, there's several
you know what
things
else
and
we,
characters in the
we
movie
didn't
like that.
need that I completely forgot about is the whole scene when his car gets keyed or whatever, and then he literally beats the shit out of a couple
that
of like,
was
high
my
school
favorite
kids.
scene in the whole
I
movie.
actually think we needed that to then see that he had that in him to be able to
I guess
kill
that's fair.
songwriter dude later. I think that's why that scene.
That
in
was
the
my
movie.
favorite scene
And
in the
I
whole
actually
movie.
loved that too.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, "What the fuck? He's a kid," and then I was like, "Nah, get that little shithead."
I mean, I kind
was
of feel like those
laughing
kids deserved
hysterically.
it.
Oh, I
Totally.
was cracking up. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, how did Brian want to turn this off?
Yeah.
This is like at minute
If
15.
the whole movie
Yeah.
was like that, I would have enjoyed it maybe.
So if the whole movie was an Adam Sandler gimmick from the, I would have loved it.
I actually thought it was a pretty great misdirect though too, because I thought it was oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. She's literally just billed as actress, Ricky Lindholm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Yeah,
know
a
that.
lot of them didn't have
Um,
actual names. If you look through
yeah,
like,
yeah.
the cast list, yeah.
So I thought that was gonna be like Ricky Lindholm's character that did that when you just first saw, because it was after he met Sarah.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, she came back and saw through the window that they were like kissing on the bed or something like that, and then
Oh.
it like.
I didn't think that at all.
I thought it was
You
going to be
just
like
thought it was a random person that that carved a penis into his hood?
thought it was gonna be
but
something
I
related
didn't
to
at
the
all
cult.
think her.
We didn't know. It was that minute 15.
Yeah. We
Didn't
didn't know
we?
anything about the cult yet. No.
I don't know.
All that had happened is there's the extended scene of them having sex. He meets Sarah. They kiss. And then the next thing is like there's a penis carved into his car.
Into his car.
Wait, so who did we think it was before?
I didn't.
You weren't thinking.
I
Got it.
wasn't thinking. No,
Neither
but
were the
like I
writers
was
of
kind of
this
just
movie.
on the journey to like find out. I don't know. I didn't have a thought of like, man, was this the girl from before?
You're just like, man.
I was just
done
entertained,
that.
so I was just ready for them to feed it to me. Spoon feed me.
But yeah, that was my favorite scene because it just encapsulates I cannot speak this morning. Encapsulates the saying of like play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And I'm like, yes, those kids should get beat up for doing that. Because they're like deep. So it's like
Yeah.
a knife.
Yeah. That one kid
Yeah.
got punched in the dick real hard. Man, I was that kid's so young, and he might have already lost the decision of whether he can have kids or not.
I just like that he stands up and takes one step towards the kid that's far off in the
far away.
distance, and the
Yeah.
kid just starts running. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, leave your friends and go.
Yeah, that's the only smart kid there.
Any other notes on technical?
I love costume. I enjoyed throughout, even with the like weird bird
Thrift store
lady.
chic.
Thrift store chic, exactly. My style. No,
Kai, we
but-
established your style is no shirt. Watering your plants.
Well, but she was wearing bottoms, which are thrift store chic. I'm topless hippie thrift store chic.
Got it.
That's what it is. No, but I mean, there's like some fantastical elements in it. Like I really loved but I guess that's maybe props. The odd owl lady and
The mask.
the mask. Was that the only fantastical element?
Is the owl lady the naked lady walking through the?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that he finds on the footage.
yeah. Don't even
Of-
give a
And
fuck
then
After
about
and
the
then
that.
writer
chooses not to take that footage to the cops because they ruled it a suicide.
Right. Because
So I'm
the
also-
cops
Yeah.
would not help him further on his need to find out what the billionaires know that he doesn't. The cops are they don't know anything. They don't got money. He's not going to the cops. He doesn't care why this or how the yeah,
They
he
don't-
does
they
care.
don't got
but
money.
only to Okay.
I had pretty much forgotten about that weird character until we're talking about this today. That made no sense at all. Why is this weird naked lady walking? And she's like not even walking normally either. Yeah, exactly.
that's-
It's like she's
that's
almost like
what
a
I love,
ballerina
though.
or something.
So I actually liked that.
I love that.
I
'cause
just
that's
think it wa-
like, is he seeing
I didn't
shit or
have an
not? Is
issue
these
with the
guys
naked
going
lady.
crazy.
I didn't have the issue with
Well,
the
of course
naked
you
lady.
didn't.
So
I'm just
you
saying.
think that lady wasn't actually there?
No, because then later she's like in his house, but she's not, clearly. He goes into the bedroom, she's not there. No, I think that was in his head. I think
Oh.
he's like losing his shit trying to figure this stuff out because that lady is a character from Under the Silver Lake,
Yeah.
which I think that writer was out of his mind and then he was reading this guy's writing and becoming so obsessed with it. No, I didn't think that lady was real. That's why I appreciated things like that. It's like kind of going, okay, what is in his head? What is he obsessing about now? After having not slept and taken drugs and whatever, what is real and what is not?
So you think the only thing that was real is that they faked their death and went into the bunker?
No, I don't know if that's the only thing that is real. I'm just saying throughout it, I was kind of like, what is not?
I didn't have the thought at all while watching this that any of it could have been imagined or made up.
Huh.
But again, I was also pretty checked out for a lot of the movies, so that
I
could
wanted
be why.
so desperate by like the 90th minute. I wanted so desperately for it to like just because like there's a
End.
moment where he goes into the yes, where he goes into like the refrigerator of like the bunker. I was like, oh my gosh, it'd be so great if he was actually just like a grocery store worker and he's like in the fridge just thinking this whole thing the whole time. I'm like, that would be if it ended that way and he's just sitting in the refrigerator. He's like, oh shit.
God, yeah,
oh,
that
gosh.
was such a weird moment. See, I appreciate, like, it could have been anywhere, but what a weird thing for that to end, for him to, like, crawl down this tunnel and end in a milk fridge. And then I love that he just, like, cracks open a milk and starts chugging it.
Yeah.
Like, I just love how somebody's imagination went there.
Yeah.
I love how this movie, like, to even write this movie is, like, is fun to think about.
We didn't even talk about the fact how. Wait, sorry. We didn't even talk about the fact that let's just go to nitpicks. Because that's essentially what this movie is, right? It's just a bunch of nitpicks.
Not
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Guy's like, but I liked it.
I liked it so much.
Brian, I know your whole nitpick is
The movie?
The movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first nitpick was it's barely in Silver Lake.
It's mainly in Atwater.
That, and then like he's in Echo Park, then he's in downtown, then he's in Hollywood, then he's in Griffith.
Yeah, he's like never in Silver Lake.
The only,
He swims in the Silver Lake, which I loved that shot of her. Just speaking technical,
Who's shooting at them?
Who
yeah,
knows?
exactly. Who
But
shot that girl?
That actually was a thing where I was like, "Is this real or is this not real?" But I loved that she gets just fucking yacked in the throat, and then she's floating, and like blood is coming out in the
Well,
water.
it
I was
just
like,
felt-
"Oh, what a cool shot!"
Well, it just mimics the Playboy
yeah.
cover.
Oh yeah,
That's all it is.
Oh, I didn't get
Kai, that was my problem with this whole thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's trying so hard to be so pretentious.
I did
Yeah.
not even get that scene, but I loved it. But even more to the point where then I'm going, did this happen? Was that part real? Or was that something turning in his brain? Like he's just going fucking nuts. Did that even happen?
Yeah, see, like I said, I didn't take any of this as having been like in his head. Like I had no reason to believe that scene wasn't real.
Well, my only reason to question it throughout was because he's going down some crazy conspiracy
No, I
rabbit
mean, I
hole.
understand why you would think that way. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
like
yeah.
while I was
Yeah.
watching it, like it didn't really occur to me.
My other nitpick is how is no one beating the crap out of him? He's just going around doing all these things and no one's like,
Because
"Yo,
he's a
dude."
white male.
No, but he even beat up Jesus in the bathroom, and like they have such
Yeah.
a huge following,
Oh,
and he just
yeah.
walks out, and then the guy was just like didn't say anything
It's
or
not
do
like he's
anything.
like a big, strong,
got a-
tough-looking
he
dude.
should've
either.
got
Why
the
does
shit
he
kicked out
just
of him.
beat the crap out of him? Why doesn't he just go in and ask him the question?
Yeah, because
he
this
just
guy's
punches him
mentally
immediately.
unstable.
Yeah.
He's literally a violent criminal.
Yeah.
That's who we followed for
God, he was
2014
sexy.
minutes. He killed a man.
Just joking.
Yeah, pretty. And like he bashed
He
his
killed
head
a man.
in.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like he just killed him. He turned
Crime of passion.
he turned his head into like pulp. Like
Yeah.
his face was a crater on the top of his face. That part I
Face
did
was a
like.
crater on the top of his face.
I have a way with words.
Do you have any nitpicks? Probably not, right? Because you're like, this is the greatest movie ever.
It wasn't the greatest movie ever, but I really enjoyed it. So no, there wasn't.
I totally understand why it took 4 years in posts and a bunch of
Did it
reshoots.
really take that long?
Yeah, the first trailer came out in 2014, and then
Holy
it didn't come
shit.
out till 2018.
Dang. Well, I didn't.
They
This
should've
went
spent more time.
completely under my radar until you added it to the list.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amanda and I were dating, and we saw the trailer.
What?
We saw the trailer when we went to the movies
Dating?
when we were dating, and then
No. How long have you been married?
it'll be 7 years this
The
year.
trailer for this came out 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Holy hell!
They should have spent more time.
I swear that I think we saw the trailer in 2015 before we got married.
No.
Yeah. Or maybe it
'Cause
might have
the-
been 2016, like when we were engaged, but I know that we were not married yet.
I feel like a lot of the actors in this film, though, are actors that have sort of come up in the last couple years. So I assumed that this was written and shot within the last.
No,
3 years.
it's like we saw the trailer, and then I remember like a year later or something like that. I was like, whatever happened to that movie, the Silver Lake one? And then I like did research, and like it was like they were thinking about canning it completely
They should have.
because it's that bad.
When was the first Spider-Man that he
I
was in?
enjoyed it.
Wasn't that like 2011 or 2012 or something like that?
Maybe because I couldn't remember and I didn't bother to look it up. But because there's the scene where he's like holding the Spider-Man comic book or something, and I was like, was that
Well,
supposed
yeah,
to be?
he like touches it, and then
yeah,
it, like,
was that supposed to be
sticks
like a
it.
little lame nod to him being Spider-Man?
I'm assuming, yeah.
Any other nitpicks?
Spider-Man was 2012, yeah.
Okay, so it was after.
I will say, sorry, going back to acting, because I know you had said that you're not the biggest fan of Andrew Garfield. Excuse me. I think if either of you have ever seen Silence, the Martin Scorsese film, Andrew Garfield is phenomenal in that movie, and it's with Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield, and Liam Neeson.
No, but I
And
like all of those
That
actors.
film, one, it's really hard to get through, but that film I was like, oh shoot, Andrew Garfield can act. Like he can actually.
That's what I think every time I see him. And it's weird because I don't think about him often, but then when I see him, I'm like, damn, yeah.
When he turns it on, he could like turn it on. And it's crazy because Silence came out the same year as Hacksaw Ridge. And then he was nominated for Hacksaw Ridge. And I'm like, no, he should have been nominated for Silence. And in an interview, Andrew Garfield said, like, the only reason I did Hacksaw Ridge is because I did Silence before.
Huh.
And like, I would not be able to take on a role like that without doing Silence.
He did, actually, it's a film that would be interesting to do on this podcast because it's kind of like this one. I loved it, but
We're not doing Tick, Tick, Boom.
Tick, Tick, Boom. That was the, wait. Yeah, that is the,
It's a musical.
Sofia Coppola. No, not, sorry. It's not Tick, Tick, Boom. No, it's a Sofia Coppola movie. God, I specifically watched it in research for a film that I'm writing. So it's the only reason I kind of came across it.
Was it recent?
Mainstream.
What?
Mainstream.
Oh.
So it's like, yeah, it was, I watched it in research for a film that I'm writing, but it's about somebody that sort of is bizarre and then becomes like a big social media star, but kind of this, actually, yeah, his character in that has the same sort of douchebaggery that his character in this sort of has.
Any final nitpicks so we can wrap this up?
Nope.
I already complained about the whole movie. I have nothing else.
Thank you so much for joining us today and listening to
Oh, wait, you
Old
didn't
Man
ask
Brian.
if we maintained our positions or if we're reconsidering.
I figured we didn't. Did
Yeah,
we
that's fair.
maintain our...
No, this movie still
Yeah,
sucked.
we did. I love it.
I think it's a good bad because I think there's a lot of good in it, from technical to story to some extent.
What has changed for me is a lot of times Brian and I agree on whether something is a good bad or a bad good movie. So what has changed for me is my respect and love for Brian.
That's fair. Honestly, I'm just amazed that you had any to begin with. So
Don't hate on yourself like that, Brian. You're a swell
I think
guy.
that's more of a commentary on
You're
you.
peachy keen. What? That I
no,
didn't
I think it
respect
was more a
him to
dig at
begin with?
myself.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think that was a
I
dig
take
at
it as-
myself.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
You're peachy keen, Brian.
Oh,
Peachy
thanks. The 50s
Hang
called.
on
They
a
want their saying back, but thank you. Is that even a
Hang on
50s
a
keen.
thing?
Another
I don't
dad joke. I don't know, but
I don't
but
know.
That setup is totally dad joke.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in this week and listening to us talk about Under the Silver Lake. Join us next week when we watch one of Brian's picks, Roadhouse.
Oh shit! I forgot I picked that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting to say the least, in my opinion. If you want to follow us on all social media, first of all, you can like and subscribe here on the YouTube, and you could comment down below, let us know what you thought about this movie, or if you've even heard of it, or if Kai's crazy. You can follow us on all social media at goodbad_badgood. You can follow me on all social media at Travis_Orozco. You could follow Brian at
Bossip on Instagram. I'm at Brian Ossip on the TikToks. And at Brian Ossip on the Twitterverse.
Yep, and follow him on LinkedIn too. And Kai?
I'm just trying to get
I'm
the
Kylena
connections.
Mai on all sorts of things. Not really, but yeah.
Cool. Until next time when, like I said, we watch Roadhouse.
Woo!
Bye!
Deuces.
Bye.
Good Bad Bad Good is an Ex Nihilo production. Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.